Hi, it's Alan Davidson, and I'm so thrilled that you're here right now. I appreciate you dedicating just a few moments of your precious time, attention, and energy to be here today. So in this short training video, I'm going to share with you some elements of your spiritual anatomy. We're going to look at the three essential components of your auric field, and we're going to look at 5 chronic issues, major energy drains to your auric field. So let's dive in. So your auric light body anatomy. And as we begin, my body of work, I always really think in terms of activate and clear, clear and activate. Activating your most radiant, most enlightened self. The fully enlightened, fully embodied parts of you that are already always present and just waiting for you to wake up to them. And then clear the karmic imprints, the energy blocks in your system. Now, in addition to activating clear, clear, and activate, I always think in terms of every level of your awareness and every level of your being. So by that, I mean your 5 vital intelligences, your physical intelligence, your emotional intelligence, mental intelligence, moral intelligence, and spiritual intelligence. So in my experience, in my wisdom, every level of your awareness, every level of your being includes who you are physically, emotionally, mentally, morally, and spiritually. And so when we are activating our most radiant and enlightened selves, we want to make sure that we're activating them physically, emotionally, mentally, morally, and spiritually. And when we're clearing blocks, we want to make sure that we're also clearing those blocks physically, emotionally, mentally, morally, and spiritually at every level of awareness and every level of being. So let's dive into the map that I use for our spiritual anatomy, our spiritual intelligence. And this is a map from the derived from the ancient Rishi forest ashrams of India. The Rishi saints and sages wrote the Rig Vedas, one of the oldest religious texts in the history of the world. And it's just the idea that we have not only the 7 embodied chakras of our spiritual anatomy, but we actually have 15 chakras, 15 frequencies of energy that make up who we are at the spiritual level. And the first 3 chakras are our conscious mind. It's our wakefulness, waking mind. It's chakras 1, 2, and 3. It's called the incarnate self. It's the actual physical body, the emotional body, the mental body. And then we have that paradigm shift of moving from the lower 3 chakras into the heart center, and we move into the unconscious mind, into the dream state of consciousness, the subtle realms of consciousness. And that chakras 4, 5, and 6. 94% of the world's population lives in the lower 3 chakras. That means only 6% of the world's population lives in the upper chakras, can strategically and intentionally move from the lower self into a open heart experience. This is the soul self, dimensions 4, 5, and 6, chakras 5 and 6. Then we move into the next major realm of consciousness, the oversoul self. And this is still the unconscious mind. This is the deep, dreamless sleep. This is the causal level of consciousness. There's still that sense of I am, that sense of who you are, but it's really open, really spacious. And then we move into the next paradigm shift in consciousness, the avatar self. And this is where we really move into the superconscious mind. So we have the conscious mind, unconscious mind, superconscious mind. This is the level of the supreme witness, or the empty witness, the pure witness. Chakras 10, 11, 12. This is Christ consciousness, Buddha mind, nirvana, samadhi, satori. And then we move to that final band of frequencies, the Rishi self, also the superconscious mind. This is infinite stillness, unity consciousness, oneness, and that chakras 13, 14, and 15. So now let's look at the anatomy of your auric field. A lot of people will talk about your energy field, your auric field, and how that relates. So the auric light body anatomy is the 7 embodied chakras plus 2 subtle chakras. So your auric field starts at chakra number 1 and extends out to chakra number 9. That's the incarnate self, the soul self, and the oversoul self. So it's those 1 through 9 frequencies of energies, 1 through 9 chakras of energy that actually make up your auric field. Now, here are one of the 3 essential elements of your auric anatomy, and it's at that chakra number 9, at that frequency between dimension 9 and dimension 10, there is actually an energetic membrane of golden liquid light. And that membrane is actually made of 617 pieces of light substance. And so when your auric field is fully intact, fully integrated, fully functioning, all 617 of those facets are radiant with golden liquid light, and they are receiving and transmitting energy at the optimal levels. The next essential element of the auric anatomy are the golden liquid web. And that is actually the web of light that connects each of the 617 facets to the 7 embodied chakras. And these are threads. They thread your soul facets to the embodied. It's how light and information and wisdom is exchanged. And so when the thread is intact and fully functioning, energy, wisdom, compassion is all able to be exchanged very fluidly. And then there is the 7 embodied chakras themselves. And so when they are fully functioning and fully connected, then we are really experiencing very high frequencies of energy, enlightenment, love, stillness, compassion, presence. So when the auric field is at its optimal level of frequency and vibration, then we are our most radiant. We are at our most enlightened. So now let's look at the 5 energy drains, or the 5 blocks that we can have at the auric field, the auric anatomy. It's very possible for some of those 617 facets, soul membrane facets, to be broken and or missing. And when my experience of doing soul clearings and healings and activations for students and clients is that it's often up to 3 or 4% of our soul facets can be either malfunctioning, broken, or if you've had some extreme trauma, some of those can even be missing. So I want to give you a couple of, at least one resource. I don't really know many people that even understand the anatomy of the soul membrane, but one of the things that I use and that you can use to begin to at least to reintegrate and heal and reactivate the soul facets that are available to you is really it's an aromatherapy bath, but a specific combination of salts and essential oils and apple cider vinegar. So here's the recipe. It is a cup of baking soda, a cup of any kind of Dead Sea mineral salts, Himalayan mineral salts, any that has the trace elements of the earth. Half a cup of organic apple cider vinegar. Now, it'll smell terrible when you open it, but once you pour it into the bath, the smell goes away. And then you want to add, you can add any kind of fabulous organic or natural bubble bath that you want, but you want to add some essential oils. Now, the number one oil that you want in your bath is frankincense oil. Frankincense is an amazing, amazing healer and activator. And so the combination of the salts and the vinegar will help to clear and draw out any impurities in your body and the energy field. The frankincense oil will help then to restore and to activate that auric field. Some other oils that you can add that will help, certainly myrrh, if you have some. Cedarwood Himalayan is also really good. Jasmine. These are all very rare and precious oils. So I would say between 10 to 20 drops maximum of essential oils in your bath. I would put at least 10 drops of frankincense. You can add some others. If you're using frankincense by itself, only use 20 drops. Now, the fastest and easiest way to not only restore and repair, but even if some of those facets are lost, they can be restored. And that is the soul clearing and activation process that I do. So now let's look at the tears in the golden web. You can actually get tears. It's very, very unusual to have more than 2 tears, but if you've had any kind of serious trauma, you can actually have a tear in the golden web to one of the 7 embodied chakras. So there are a number of practices that you can use that will begin to mend tears. And so we talk in terms of tears or scars. It's like, okay, so there has been a tear in the past and it's been partially healed, but it isn't completely healed. So, and then also there are, you can get vortexes, energy vortexes as any of the 7 embodied chakras. These are basically, the chakras are designed to flow in a particular direction and at a certain frequency. And what happens with the vortex is actually gets reversed. So instead of the chakra broadcasting energy and connecting the multiple dimensions of consciousness into the 7 embodied chakras, the spiral gets reversed, and it's actually taking energy, specifically negative energy, from the lower 3 chakras, from the dimension of the world, the physical incarnate world, and moving them into the subtle anatomy. And so 2 of the practices that are really well known for healing tears in the golden web and clearing and reversing vortexes is classic Kundalini yoga. That's Hunter, my dog, who is protecting me and all the world here in the shadow of downtown Houston. The other practice, thank you, Hunter. The other practice, in addition to Kundalini yoga, is pranayama, which is intense breath work, but working with the subtle anatomy, working with the auric field. Now, it can take a good while to have a healing practice, to learn to use Kundalini or pranayama yoga practices, and then to specifically have them repair the vortexes or the tears. So the quickest way that I know of is the soul clearing and activation process that I use, working with the sacred symbols and the sacred breath. Another chronic issue, energy drain in the auric field, are what we call portals. And they actually are, again, vortexes, but they're not connected at the seven embodied chakras. They're actually in the auric field itself, and they connect one dimension to another dimension, but not at an optimal level. And so, again, you're draining energy, you're losing energy, your energy field is not in its most optimal and at its integrity. And then the fifth major energy drain that you can have is actually entities. We talk about the incarnate self. Well, these are discarnate. They're soul entities that do not have a body, and they can attach themselves to the auric field. And they are basically you draining your life force, your subtle energy to sustain themselves. And there are a number of practices that will close those portals in between dimensions and also work with entities. A lot of the shamanic healing traditions from Native American, African, South American shamanic traditions all have practices that will help you close and clear those vortexes or to remove any entities. You do have to go to a shaman, basically, and particularly a ritual to help with that. So again, shamanic healing will help to clear those. And in my experience, the fastest and easiest is the soul clearing and activation. You know, really within 20, 30 minutes of a clearing session, those, you know, really all of those energy drains in the auric field can be cleared. So that is, you know, my little presentation to you on your spiritual anatomy, the three essential elements of your auric field, and then the 5 energy drains at the auric field, and some specific practices that you can find and use to help you. So thank you very much. If you have found this helpful or useful or beneficial in some way, please leave a comment below this video. I appreciate that. And stay tuned. My next video will be all about karmic blocks and frozen liquid light that gets stored at the 7 embodied chakras. We're going to look specifically at genetic karma, ancestral karma, and past life karma, and ways that those are stored at each of the 7 embodied chakras. And we'll look at some of the ways that you can use to begin to clear those karmic imprints. So thank you so much. I'm Alan Davidson, and I appreciate your time and your attention and your presence. Till next time.